A very few people are aware that the cranial cavity is not made of only one bone. Today, we are exploring this very precious treasure chest. You should be aware that anatomists and doctors have their own complex language to flex in front of us. For this video, we are being doctors and anatomists, so we'll call the cranial cavity neurocranium. Already better, right? Neurocranium comes from the Latin contraction of neuron, which means nerve, and cranium, which means skull. It's the part of the skull that contains a very huge nerve, the encephalon. You know, the cerebrum, cerebellum, and brainstem. It may seem obvious to you, but this box is made of bones. 8 bones to protect this thing that allows us to think. The most anterior one is called the frontal bone, or os frontale. It's the bone of the forehead. In addition to protect your brain, it also shelters your eyes and nose. The frontal bone is the lobotomy bone. They used to stick a big needle above the eye, pierce the bone, and then move the needle around to alter the frontal lobe of the brain. Ugh. The most posterior bone is called the occipital, or os occipitale. It's kind of symmetrical to the frontal bone. On its base, there's a large hole called the foramen magnum, which literally means great hole in Latin. It allows the passage of the medulla oblongata that will become the spinal cord. The sphenoid, or os sphenoidale, is very mysterious to me. It has a plane or a butterfly shape, and it's the base of the skull, the floor of the treasure chest. It links both base parts of the frontal bone and of the occipital bone. Okay, so this is crazy. Let's do a little experience together. You can touch a hidden part of your sphenoid bone behind and upwards your third maxillary molar teeth, the upper wisdom teeth. Right here, you can also touch it with your tongue. Try to remember that the sella turcica hosts the pituitary gland or hypophysis that has a lot of important roles. The ethmoid, or os ethmoidale, is the smallest bone of the neurocranium. It is located between the eyes and separates the nasal cavity from the brain. The cribriform plate forms the roof of the nasal cavity. It is perforated by tiny little holes that give passage to tiny little nerves. They will regroup into the olfactory bulb to finally reach the brain via the olfactory nerve. All this mess allows you to smell that delicious margherita pizza. The 2 upper lateral bones are the parietals, or os parietale. They are literally the walls and even the roof of the cranial chest. As the sphenoid bone, they unite both the upper part of the frontal bone and of the occipital bone. Some animal species have a little hole between the parietals where we find a third eye. And finally, the 2 lower and lateral bones of the neurocranium are called the temporals, or os temporale. These are very important bones of the body. They are vital. They also hold the mandible, and they host the vestibulocochlear organs that allow balance and hearing. I don't want to tease you too much, but a punch in these bones can give you tinnitus. Now, here it gets a little tricky. The neurocranium is actually made of 2 parts. The upper part of the neurocranium is called the desmocranium, or calvaria. The bones of the desmocranium are the upper part of the frontal bone, the parietal bones, the very upper part of the temporal bones, and the upper part of the occipital bone. The lower part of the cranial vault is called the chondrocranium. It's the base, the floor of the skull. The bones of the chondrocranium are the orbital parts of the frontal bone, the ethmoid bone, the lower part of the temporal bones, the lower parts of the occipital bone, and the sphenoid bone. These bones are very, very, very important. Without them, a suave kiss on the forehead may kill you, causing cerebral trauma. And boy oh boy, how much we love kisses. Now, you've probably seen it. Between the bones, there are grooves, and these grooves allow to maintain the bones together. Well, this is the topic of next week's video. See you soon. Bye. The occipital It links both